and some drivers define their era, others transcend it. But only one ever became Formula One's first and only posthumous world champion. A maverick, a daredevil, a man who danced on the edge of control. He was destined for greatness, but fate had other plans. This is the story of Jochen Rindt, the man who won the ultimate prize but never lived to see it. Born in Germany in 1942 but raised in Austria, Rindt's childhood was marked by tragedy. His parents were killed in World War II. Raised by his grandparents, he became a rebellious, fearless young man, one always drawn to danger. It was no surprise that when he found racing, he treated it not as a sport, but a battle. His aggressive sideways style made him a standout in Formula 2, where he took on and beat future legends like Jackie Stewart. Rindt's entry into Formula 1 in 1964 was anything but smooth. Driving for Cooper, he quickly earned a reputation for being blisteringly fast, but stuck in unreliable machinery. He had the raw talent, but what he didn't have was a winning car, until Lotus came calling. Everything changed in 1969 when he joined Lotus, the team of Jim Clark, the team that redefined speed and innovation. But with speed came danger. Lotus cars were the fastest on the grid, but they were also fragile, sometimes even deadly. Rindt knew the risks, but he didn't care. He wanted to win. And soon the victories came. His first in the US. Then came the magic of Monaco 1970, where he pulled off one of the greatest last lap overtakes in history, snatching victory from Jack Brabham on the final corner. It was clear, Rindt wasn't just fast, he was a fighter. By mid-1970, Rindt was unstoppable. 5 wins in a row. Monaco, the Netherlands, France, Britain, Germany, each race taking him closer to the championship. But something had changed. Rindt, always fearless, started to feel uneasy about the dangers of the sport. He had lost too many friends. Jim Clark, Bruce McLaren, and Lotus, as fast as it was, still had its flaws. He told his wife, Nina, that if anything ever happened to him, he wanted her to pull him out of racing. But fate wouldn't give him that choice. It was September 5th, 1970. Monza, the fastest circuit on the calendar. In practice, Rindt was testing a new setup, without a front wing, to reduce drag. But at over 150 miles per hour, disaster struck. His Lotus speared into the guardrail at terrifying speed. The front of the car crumpled instantly, and Rindt, who had a habit of not fastening his seatbelt fully to escape quickly, was thrown forward with fatal force. At just 28 years old, Jochen Rindt was gone. But despite his death, no one could catch his points total. Jochen Rindt was crowned 1970 World Champion, the first and only posthumous champion in Formula One history. His widow, Nina Rindt, accepted the title on his behalf. The world mourned. A champion had been crowned, but the man himself was no longer there to see it. Jackie Stewart called him one of the greatest natural talents Formula One had ever seen.
I was very upset. When I got into the car, I suddenly burst into tears in the car. So I put my visor down, and I tell you, really, right now it affects me.
Bernie Ecclestone, his former manager, knew he was destined for more, but fate had drawn the curtain too soon. Jochen Rindt's story is one of unfulfilled potential. A man who could have won multiple championships, but was taken before his time. Yet, in just 6 years in Formula One, he left a mark that can never be erased. He was the rebel, the risk-taker, the fearless fighter who took on the world and won. Jochen Rindt never saw his own glory. He never stood on the podium as a world champion, never heard the roar of the crowd celebrating his ultimate triumph. Yet his name is carved into the sport's history, unchallenged, untouchable. A man whose fire burned too bright, too fast, a champion even in death.
He closed the Nürburgring because Jochen had gone there and they would not do one thing on 176 corners. We drove more than 3 times off the road, high off the road, jumping. And they wouldn't do anything. Jochen said, and he was always very direct, it was famous, they were useless. They wouldn't do one thing, not one thing, because they thought if we did one thing, we'll have to do a whole lot of other things. They didn't think we had the balls to stop it. It was Jochen's visit.
Join us next time as we dive into the thrilling and often tragic tales of motorsport legends, exploring the stories that defined an era and the drivers who dared to dream.